My guest on this episode of the Neil Wilkins podcast is Gaspard Pastural. Now, Gaspard is an expert specialist in turning positioning into revenue growth strategies. Basically, what we're talking about here is the narrative, it's the positioning, it's the messaging, it's the real fundamental ground sort of roots, if you like, and grounding in taking a product to market. We're all getting swept away with AI and all those possibilities that AI offers. But Gaspard is very much let's call this a grounded traditional marketing expert. Is that right, Gaspard? Have I positioned this correctly?
Yeah, you introduced me better than I do usually. So yeah, exactly. I do
Well, that's a good start.
Yeah, I do product marketing and I do positioning mostly, but it also includes like the messaging and the narrative, as you said. So it's like what the choice you make in order to decide how you present your product, from the positioning, the what do you want to show first, who do you decide to show it to, and this kind of choices that you have to make in order for your rest of your marketing to work. And the thing about revenue is that I use revenue signals, like the data and all the numbers, as a way to ground this into concrete stuff and not just marketing psychology stuff that no one else outside of marketing understands. So I use stuff like the revenue as a KPI to better drive the decision of, okay, we need to make this choice of positioning our product like this because our revenue shows that we should have more result with this strategy more than the other one.
And I've been so looking forward to this conversation, Gaspard, because one of the things I'm noticing, and I'm sure you are too, is that so many business people, so many marketers are getting swept along with the concept of AI. It's almost like most of us, and at times I'll put myself in this category as well, most of us have almost forgotten what it is to do this stuff properly. I love the way that you've described that in terms of being data-driven, where the customers want something. It's all about the evidence, isn't it? Rather than just, oh, there's the new latest AI tool. Let's just jump on that and see what that creates, and that will tell us what to do. We're talking the real fundamentals of marketing here, aren't we? Listening to a customer need first before developing a product.
Well, AI is a FOMO-driven kind of movement. So I'm not saying you should do all the marketing before building a product, because sometimes you need to build it first to get some feedback from customers and everything. But I'd say that if you don't have a long-term vision on what positioning you're trying to earn on the market, what you want to be remembered for, everything else is just like short-term driven, kind of messy and chaotic. And the thing with AI is that it's really pretty recent, and we still have this FOMO of, oh, we have to try something new. But at the same time, companies that have been there for ages and have been growing steadily are the ones that stayed focused and are still known for the same thing they were aiming for at the beginning, or that pivoted, but not once every day, but like once every 5 years or something. My favorite example for marketers is HubSpot. HubSpot is doing CRM for marketing. And even if they do for the sales team, if they do landing pages and a lot of different stuff, they're still associated with the idea of CRM for marketing. That's how they grew to that point. And they stayed focused. Even in the age of AI, when they're trying to reinvent it, they have a different narrative, they still have this positioning in mind. And without all the effort they had beforehand, they wouldn't be to the stage in terms of recognition on the market.
I want to come back to a point that you just mentioned there, because I think this is a really interesting one. You said there, Gaspard, what I want to be remembered for. That's a really interesting one, because I think a lot of people think, oh, I've got this idea for a product, or we've got this service idea. Let's start developing it. Let's go and test it. And let's see if we can make some money from it. That's kind of the typical, often starting point. But your starting point was what I want to be remembered for. That's a really interesting one, because that feels so much further upstream and so much earlier than whatever the product is that you're then going to deliver. What I want to be remembered for. Could you kind of explain that a little bit?
Well, you got kind of two sides of marketing. There's the digital or the performance side, which is kind of tactics to get quick results. Let's say I'm going to put some campaigns on Google Ads or something that's going to give me clicks of people that want to buy my products, etc. that can give you quick leads and everything, but in the same time, if you're trying to more not just get quick clicks, likes, and leads, and you try to actually get people to buy your product, you need to either convince them that your product is the one they should choose among all the other ones for their need, or they should remember you for the day they need to actually buy a product, and you need to be top of mind when they choose. So all this notion of remembering, when you have this North Star of, okay, I should be remembered for this specific thing, this context that makes my product most likely to be chosen, helps you guide all your efforts so that you get either chosen when people are ready to buy or remembered for the day they are looking to buy. And that's this kind of a way to guide your strategy around, okay, there's a context that I need to own in order to get clients. And that can be, okay, if someone needs a landing page for educational course, okay, I need to remember for that, because when people associate me with this ID, they get more chances to see the real value of my product and buy my product compared to the others. So I should be remembered for this context, and everything I do is to be remembered for this one. And this is not all of the marketing strategy, but this is kind of a way to guide more the discussion and to anchor it more into a long-term plan, and not just, okay, tomorrow we need leads.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because when you think about that anchoring, as you've described it there, I guess there are many choices that we have. I mean, we could anchor, I guess, being remembered as a person, or as a team, or as a brand. I mean, maybe we're quite a, I don't know, disruptive brand that's new to market and people just notice us because we're different. Or there must be so many, even before we start getting to the product and the story behind the product. If we're talking about strategy, how much would you say it is about the people? Because there are so many choices really here, aren't there, which come in before product. Because if you make this choice correctly, then your products almost could be quite naturally coming out of them. But you get this bit wrong, and it could be very hard to find a product that actually serves a market. So people, is people important here?
I think there's two angles to these questions. The first one is, like, depending on what you sell, actually. I think I'm more into the B2B side. My clients are all B2B software SaaS companies. And in that case, it's really similar to services. You sell something for a recurring need, for something that stays, people still subscribe. So you need to have some trust, and that trust comes from people behind it, because we're all looking for people to trust behind it. Even for the best software in the world, if it costs 100K a year, I'm gonna need to have someone in front of me to confirm this is the right choice, and they're gonna help me implement it and everything. So people matter for the space. Then there's a nuance for B2C when you have like a single product kind of company. When you're starting out, you're trying to, I don't know, build something new, something tech, something that's kind of not disrupting, but all the famous brands that we are listening for, studying, like Liquid brands and Liquid Death and all the cool brands out there. The founders are known, but it's still the product that's most remembered for. And I think it just comes to the choice of what would be more strategic for you to be associated with. Sometimes it's the founder first, so the person behind it, but sometimes it's the product, sometimes it's just the company right away, depending on, it's all related to what you sell and how you want to grow this, how you want to grow. Like if it's something that you grow steadily, slowly, like most companies, like bootstrap ones, you can choose the best path. But if you're trying like to go super fast and let's say raise a few million to like a startup, in that case, that'd be more strategic to be known for the thing you sell, or for at least the idea of what you sell, so people really try to discover you more easily. There are different nuances to this. I think it really depends on the situation, but for services, mostly the person behind it is the go-to.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you start kind of looking at it like this, it is a deeper decision. I think a lot of us, particularly as you say, if you've got an idea for something, maybe this is a side hustle that you've been thinking about for a while. AI comes in, says, "Oh, you can do this now because you could vibe code a solution, or you can, just automate or do an AI first kind of business," and you just think, "Oh, I can do this now very, very quickly. I can make this happen." speed is a bit of an issue and challenge for me, because maybe it's my age, but I don't want to be doing things quite as quickly as I would in the past. But maybe it's just that we're all trying to do these things too quickly. I mean, do you see a lot of examples of people trying to race because they feel, oh, if I don't do it today, I'm going to miss out. The market's going to pass me. A competitor's going to come in. When it comes to product marketing, speed is always been an issue. But do you think we're trying to do things too quickly now?
I'm not saying we as marketers. I think we are overwhelmed by all the things we are asked to do. But in terms of speed as a company, not as a person, I'm saying I think it's really distinct to startups in the tech space. Like the speed doesn't really matter that much. It's not a day. It's not something you cannot not miss something if you wait for one more day or for one more week. It's not the rush. There is no lives behind it. No life is in danger. But for the specific case, or when you're trying to create a category or opening a new market or a new way to sell solutions, this trying to earn mind shares. And if you're the first, it's definitely a huge advantage when it's a new emerging category or new movement compared to existing categories where you are already different players in mind, like different options available. And it's all right to be slower because you're gonna differentiate as you go, as you build your place in the market. But when it comes to new things, speed is kind of the key when you have to force your way through and be the first to get more recognition. I think with AI, the best example is ChatGPT. By being the first, they kind of led the movement and everyone used them at first. Of course, you changed maybe afterwards. You discovered Claude, Gemini, and everything, but they were still the first. So everyone was compared, okay, this is the ChatGPT for lawyers, this is the ChatGPT for... And you kept the name and the positioning that they had because they were first.
So let's kind of go a little deeper then into this being early to market or first to market, because to me, I think that's a really interesting one, because again, a lot of people are probably sort of thinking, actually, we might be an existing business, so we might already exist, but we want to be first into this new market that we see from our research, or we're doing some deep studies into a new sector, that there is this emerging market. They might not even realize that they are a new market yet, but we feel that they are, and we've got this solution that maybe solves one of their problems. Is in that kind of situation, obviously we need to start building a story, building a narrative. But the thing that you said right at the start of our conversation was this kind of understanding market need. So where does that come into this storytelling then? Is that kind of one of these hooks right at the beginning, which is kind of, we understand you. So what we've done is we've come in from this market over here, when we want to kind of come and talk to you, and you're in this market over there, and we understand you. So we understand what your need and your problem is. Is that an important part of the messaging and the narrative? Because it could be just that we jump in with, here's a solution. But do we actually have to tell them that they've got a need and we understand it at the beginning?
Okay, I'm trying to structure an answer, but I think it comes in three parts. I'm sorry. The first one is what's new. What you mean a new target or a new market? I think there's a huge difference in that, because a new market is only created when it's a new technology breakthrough, like a new technology that allows new possibilities. AI is the best example. My favorite is Lovable at the moment, which is doing allowing people that don't know how to code to create websites and apps. And that's a tech breakthrough. They create a new category out of this because they are the first to allow a full service where you just have to plug your ID with and an AI just codes for you. So that's how they got first. The second way to open a new market is just simply to address an audience that didn't get help before. Like they kind of were ignored. And that's either because they are not the most lucrative audience, and so then you're trying to help people that are underserved, Like there's a startup called Abby that helps freelancers, like really small freelancers on taxes and everything. And that's because they were not really helped by the previous existing solutions. And that's a way to kind of create a new market. But the best way is when you, in this context, when you have already a product in place, is when you see an emerging movement, something like rise up, like solopreneurs or something, a movement that creates a change in the market, and you want, in that case, being the first is important because you're trying to be the first for this new audience that's arriving. But now, that in terms of storytelling, that really depends on if you're trying to go fully on this new segment or to incorporate it into your current one. And it's all about gauging and evaluating and dosing different. Should you incorporate it? Will it dilute your own message? Will it dilute how you currently explain your stuff? Like I have a client who was doing an AI application for industrial companies. If they have a specific vocabulary for industrial companies, a really, really technical for engineers, really in-depth kind of vocabulary and messaging. If they were to open to, let's say, artists with the same product, that would be a mess in terms of storytelling. They were, okay, AI for industries, and you have a story that goes with it. I'm not going to explain it now, but if they were saying, okay, now the same AI is for artists, imagine how blurry and weird that would sound for artists. But I'm not an industrial company. I'm not looking for a line of production or anything. So I think it's really choosing that path. And a way that influence this decision is the third part of my answer. Is this new audience fully aware of their problem and they're actually buying stuff like you sell? Or are you hoping to convince them on something new? Because that also influences a lot of your story and the choice you make in terms of markets. Because if you are betting on a new market, plus betting on you'll be able to educate them on the problem and they will be ready to buy, it's a lot of bets. And I'd rather to confirm it step by step. That comes all the things that go to markets, kind of testing, planning, adjusting, to evaluate how much potential this has for growth. And again, that depends on if you want hyper growth like startups, or if you want a steady one like most scale-ups usually. But it's all comes to dosing and understanding this audience first to then adjust what you choice you make internally. And the thing I help people do is these choices of, okay, we have different direction, you have to choose. But in the end, it's really just understanding your audience, and the story goes. It's pretty easier to craft once you know that.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because the old famous Steve Jobs position, which is, I'll paraphrase him here, it's not going to be absolutely accurate, but when he said, my customers don't even know what they need, and I'm going to create their need and solve their need, because they don't even understand what it is that they want, because they've never seen anything like this before. Do you think there's still a place for that? Because what you're saying, I think, is more sort of grounded in a reality that for most of us, we need to understand a need from an existing customer and then meet that need. Whereas Steve Jobs was almost creating the problem and then solving it before people had even realized. I mean, that's kind of quite extreme, isn't it, really? Most of us aren't really capable of that, are we?
Well, Steve Jobs was doing a technology breakthrough. It was creating a new category. And in that space, he assumed things and bet everything in one direction, and the success came quite along with this. He invested in everything, the product development, and published everything from the hunch of, okay, this is going to get big, and based on the new technology we have available to solve the need. And so my methodology is, because I'm working more with bootstrap scale-ups, quite big organization in established markets, and product marketing is always valued when you have to influence the sales part, so it's really B2B often. But when it comes to prosumers, consumers, and enabling a new kind of solutions, you don't have to listen to everything. I think you have to listen to what people actually do and not say. And in the case of Steve Jobs, he had a hunch, tried it out, and people bought his product. So the sales proved him right. So and that's my link to revenue every time. But that's I think it's like lovable. They didn't wait for people to say, "Oh, I need to code." They waited. They just said, "Okay, everyone wants to create something, but they can't because of the code expertise that they don't have. So I'm gonna create a solution. I'm gonna assume it's gonna be the case for everyone. And okay, I have a first signal. It's going well. I have a lot of hype around this. Okay, I'm gonna invest in a few millions more, quite a lot, and then I'm gonna grow super fast because I get that this need is gonna be global. So I'm gonna establish my position as the first one in the market, and that's because they are a prosumer audience, and they also have B2B as well and B2C, etc. But that's in that case, you don't have to listen. You have to watch what people actually do once you're at the first push to build a product and put it out there.
Yeah, and that kind of watching and listening, I think, no matter how we do it, I'm trying to kind of understand from you, Gaspard, this whole idea about kind of what comes first, really. And it just feels that one of the things that we need to be doing is watching and listening. So no matter whether we're Steve Jobs or whether we're going a more sort of traditional, probably safer route, less risky kind of route, it is still about watching and listening, isn't it? Because we're not going to suddenly say, oh, there's an opportunity. Okay, I've listened to the market, then not listen at all, and then launch. This is about listening and watching to, as you say, and I'm sure absolutely correctly, the behavior, not just what people say they're going to do or say they want, but actually what they do and what they want and actually how they behave. Because then there's the real kind of reality that's going to then drive any movement or detours or changes or even a pivoting in that product development process. Because if we don't do that, we're going to end up, the market moves off in one direction and we're still stuck in what we originally planned. I mean, how much movement do you see sort of in your work? Do you see people having to move and change as the market changes?
Well, that's the biggest part of my work. The moment for people, I'm trying to be very associated with the context when it comes to I want to be remembered for the positioning part and that comes into the mind of my clients when they have this kind of choice to make. So I come along really often into this specific context where people have to make a choice, and watching what customers actually do is a big part of that. Because like AI, for example, I have lots of clients who say, oh, everyone is asking for AI for us. We need the AI features. We need AI. We need to change for AI. But in the end, okay, but among people who say they want AI, how many actually paid for or something like this? Did they actually pre-order it, kind of? Or they just say, okay, we want it, and nothing came afterward? And when you look at this closer, I had a client who built a huge CRM because people asked for it. He said, oh, I have a customer that wants a CRM. He wants to manage his client, etc., etc. And I came around, I said, but when you look at all the product usage and the sales and all the signals that are linked to actually business revenue, everything is just associated with one feature, only one. Not the CRM, not the emails, not everything. It's just one. It was something like the website visitor identification. And he said, oh, should we try it out? And then he tried to put the landing page and just in the sales call only talk about this feature. He saw so much success. He just forgot everything about AI. He just said, okay, I'm going to stop the CRM. I'm going to reposition my entire product as the one feature product. It changed it. I helped them on the homepage. I helped them on deciding how to discuss it, who to target the audience, who was paying the most already, and who was interested the most. And I think there was like 60% more MRR in just 2 months from people that just both grow faster, get more word of mouth, were more interested, and use the product more. And that's just watching people what they actually do compared to what they say. And in that case, you had the choice. Okay, I'm being pulled in every direction. How do I make the choice? And that's often what I come around and see. Okay, we have this decision to make, and what numbers we look at.
You've talked a lot, Gaspard, about this thing about obviously revenue, because revenue to you is the number one kind of direction, isn't it? It's the KPI, and I love hearing that, because I think a lot of us, and I put myself in this category as well, we can love our product, we can love our service almost forget the fact that no, it's about the revenue. The reason we're doing this is about the revenue. It's got to be the right kind of revenue. Obviously, we wouldn't necessarily sell to everybody, and we're not going to do things that aren't sustainable. And there's obviously a load of other considerations in there, but ultimately this thing's got to sell, because if it doesn't, we don't have a business. I mean, if we take as a KPI or as a metric, revenue being the number one, I think that's what you're telling us. What are the other kind of most relevant ones that we can select from? Because I'm guessing there must be almost a list that you typically would say or be testing against a client's kind of business. I mean, what would say the next three be that people would be choosing from?
I want to say it depends, because I come from growth marketing before going in product marketing. So I was kind of revenue oriented every time. And I'm not saying marketing should always lead to revenue. I'm saying revenue should be understood and as a North Star. That doesn't mean that everything should have an ROI. But in terms of revenue, of course, there's the MRR. The MRR, so the revenue months per month and the recurring revenue, and all the metrics that lead to that. So the top three, depending on what you sell in the B2B space, is usually closing rate for the sales team. It's usually conversion rate for the websites. It's sometimes response rate if it's a campaign. It's really depending on just like a funnel most of the time. But it's like a funnel, but it's not a funnel, because I don't really believe in the funnel. I'm saying it's like touch points. We create more and more touch points, and the marketing's goal is to create different touch points so people get more and more comfortable with buying your solution. But when you look at KPIs like this, it gives you indication on what's working or not. So it's kind of a funnel, but not. It's like mini funnel everywhere. Like if I'm in a sales call and I listen to like the last 5 to 10 sales calls my team had, and I see that all the one that led to a second meeting or that closed the deal mention a specific pain point, I'm guessing that this pain point is really something I should either put in my marketing because it seems to work and to create more urgency into buying, or maybe I should see the pattern between all the people that mention this pain point. What do they have in common? What tells me in terms of who I should be targeting? So it's kind of understanding the flows and the business aspect behind it, so that I can improve my strategy when it comes to marketing and all the rest of the work. And so KPIs really depend. I'm saying I have signals I look at. I'm not looking at stats. I'm not saying every month, okay, we lost a few more deals, it's a bad thing, etc. I'm just saying, okay, what can we learn from the data we have so far? And not only the quantitative, but also the qualitative data, like the calls, interactions, questions from prospecting customers, and these kind of things.
What about when things are so quiet that the data, and I love that you're data focused and it's all about evidence, but when things maybe at the start or the launch of a product, so you've done your market listening, you've actively listened, you've adapted this product or services, you've been developing it, you're good to launch, all the signs are really positive that this is going to go really well, you think you've crafted a message, and so you've launched, and then you're sat there and nothing happens. And I know people listening to this will have been in this situation. We've all been there at some point in our careers. And for those of you who are as old as me, you'll have been there a number of times where you're sat there and you're thinking, this should work. This should be working. I cannot see why this is not working. The market asked for it. I've delivered it. The market said, oh, this is a really good thing. And yet, where are they? Where are the sales? I'm looking at the numbers. I haven't got enough numbers coming through. I know you said you don't want to be using pipeline here, but even if I look at my process of creating something and then trying to sell it, I look at all the numbers and I think there's just nothing happening. I mean, you must have faced this as well with clients where they're very, very disappointed because they say, I followed the rules. I did everything I was told to do. And yet here we are. There's nothing actually happening. What can you do about that?
Big part of this is the mindset of what a launch is. And most people see a launch as a bet. We're going to bet this new launch is going to drive new business, or more sales or more interest. And I hate bets. I love entrepreneurs, but I hate doing bets when it comes to betting the company's future. And I'm more into, okay, if it's the launch is not working, it's probably not the launch, but what came beforehand. So how did you plan the launch? And I know you said, I did everything by the rules. There's no rules, in my opinion. It just results. And let's say we do a launch for, I don't know, a new product. I'm a bit, why should you bet everything on doing one public launch on December? I would do a beta version with my current customers, or I would get a few five to 10 beta testers. I would do a pre-launch, pre-order it for people who would pay for the product before I build the product even. Once I see people that pay for the product, I would look at what they have in common, what's the common pattern, what's the one I should exploit, and like which one should I focus on? Okay, can I test it out before doing the launch? Okay, I'm doing the campaign, I'm going to prospecting, and see if the message is landing. And I'm testing step by step every single aspect of the launch before the launch. I'm testing if it's selling, if the message is converting. Everything comes before doing the actual launch. And honestly, the public one, the one you see every time on LinkedIn and all the big names that put a lot of noise on the market, is usually launch that already been orchestrated beforehand a few months prior. And the launch is actually 2 months before the official one. It's when you, okay, I now have people who are paying for this and I know why. So I often have clients that comes to them, as you said, I had this launch, I did everything right, etc. And I usually I listen to them for like 5 minutes and I ask one question, and it's usually around, but why didn't you sell it before doing all the marketing? Why didn't you just call a few people that thought would buy it, and why did they not buy beforehand if it's that amazing? And it is all these kind of things that is put to grounded in the reality. And usually we marketers, we do a lot of fake work. We obsess over the website copy, of the profile design, of the wording for the landing page or the campaign, etc. But in the end, it's the result that counts. So even if it's ugly, I'm gonna say it before, and then I'm gonna see if I want to make it pretty or not. So it's like re-grounded kind of answer, but I hope that answers what you ask.
It does. It really does, Gaspard. And I think one of the things that I'm taking from that is there is no one launch. These are launches. They're different sizes. They're different scales. They're different levels of publicity. They're different levels of going public, to use your phrase. And maybe even if the first going public launch doesn't really hit the targets and it doesn't achieve the KPIs that you've set, we'll have another one. It probably was that the previous launch, the people who actually are eventually going to buy didn't even see it. We make a lot of assumptions. Oh, I put this on social media, or I've got this on my website, so therefore I'm launched. But actually, the vast majority of the world scrolled past that on their timeline, didn't come to your website. So actually, you're still invisible. And so it's okay then to be doing multiple launches, but even using the word launch, I guess, is the wrong word, isn't it? Are these releases? Are they versions? I mean, we call them versions. Is version 3.4, and they would look at it and think, oh, I missed versions 1 and 2 and 3.1 or whatever. This is 3.4. Oh, this must be a well-established product. Oh, now I'm going to trust it a little bit more. I mean, it's about, again, being patient, isn't it? It's not expecting the results to arrive on day one. If we're a bit more patient, do multiple launches, would that solve things?
We always underestimate the time it takes for people to buy something. Even us as consumers, if we have to buy a new washing machine or something, we won't just go on Google and buy the first one. We all search the best one, the size, the consumption. Is it recycled or not? Is it close to my home or not? Can I be delivered tomorrow or next week? When should I be there? We always underestimate all of this time that people have to take in order to buy something. And when we do a launch, we are so obsessed with our own product, our own offer. It can be a service as well. that we think everyone's going to be as hyped as us, but only us are geek enough to stay focused on this one thing. People have a lot of things to do in their life, and the thing we sell is to remove them one of their needs. It's not something they really crave for. We're not selling the I don't know I don't know what example I can use, but we always overestimate the hype and underestimate the weight. So yes, multiple launches is the idea. I think if you de-risk your first launch, we're doing all the pre-launch phases to make sure you actually have some results somehow. It kind of clarifies, okay, it's worth my time and my effort and my budget to spend a few months still going on this and see if it goes in 6-8 months. And that's really hard to take as a decision for a business owner when you have to spend for 6 months before seeing a return. But truth is, actually, you're already spending a few months as educating and communicating and marketing to people before they come to a sales call or they actually agree to come to a sales meeting. So it's just this time when you do a launch, it's visible. The wait time is visible and it's painful, but it's already there. So have to find a way. What you need to confirm that you should go in this direction, and I think that's why revenue matters at the beginning. Because if you don't do a single sale, and you're the marketing guy, and you have to convince the CEO that now that you have to wait 6 months, it's going to be a tough discussion. Whereas if you did everything right in terms of, okay, I have this amount of interest, I have this person who pre-ordered the product, I have this person who's already using it, I have this, it's easier to prove your decision.
So this is really process management, isn't it? What we're talking about here is interesting because I guess at the start of our conversation I was thinking, oh, this is going to be about the storytelling, the narrative, the positioning, etc. But actually, what we're doing is we're designing a process, aren't we? Really, which is, guys, just be patient, put in the revenue numbers, but put them a little bit further downstream because you've got all this stuff to do before this thing goes properly live to the big wide world. You've got to do these various phases. And so it's managing the process, both, I guess, from a product development perspective, but also from an expectation of the business. Because if you've got investors or you've got a management team or you've got another co-founder who's there sort of thinking, oh, we've got to get this thing out the door now and live, it's managing those expectations of be patient, we've got to follow this process. Is that kind of the best thing to almost as a marketer hook yourself into? So rather than worrying about the numbers, is just let's get this process designed so everybody knows where we are on it, because then that in itself is going to do a lot of the internal sale, isn't it? Rather than us having to almost be defensive all the time and justifying things. If everybody sees the process, it's like, well, there's the process, we all agreed. We're at this point, don't shoot me yet, because look, we've got a couple of months to go yet. Feels a safer kind of option doing it that way.
Well, that's the thing I love about product marketing. I'm not in marketing it directly. I'm doing product marketing and sales actually. That's what I love. I mean, for most marketers, I'm not saying they should change what they do, but as you said exactly, it's a process management. And I think everyone, not only marketing, but everyone should understand the business aspect behind it, how a business works and what's their role in this. You can't work at some place, be an employee, and don't expect to provide some business outcome, no matter your role. If you're doing customer support, you're helping on retention and usage. If you're doing marketing, you're helping on the sales. Everyone is linked somehow to the business, and that's really important to understand. And then when it comes to the process, I think the really best option is to kind of prevent this objection, as you quoted, to even appear. If people are doubting your strategy internally, it's bound to fail. It's doomed to fail, because you can't first have to manage your marketing part and also have to manage your colleagues or your boss. And a way to get out of this, as you explained just right now, is to show the business process behind it. We are launching this product because there is this opportunity in the market. We've seen this and this and this signals that shows we are in the right direction. We need this and that for it to work. So we are at this step. And yes, there's a process and there's an end of enablement, But now we come to the narrative part where you have to align everyone on a direction. It's really team alignment and also just career-wise. If you're doing marketing and you're doing just clicks and likes, it's going to be hard to justify having a promotion or going up the ranks if that's your career path. If you're doing, I'm more on the solo path, but if you're internally and you want to be the CMO or marketing director, you have to talk business language, revenue language. And that's my big POV on this notion. And that's you have to talk, C-levels talk in business and they don't talk in marketing jargon. So yeah, and no, I think I lost what I was saying, but that was exactly what you said. So you have to show the process internally, and the narrative helps. Like all the positioning you do is a way to clarify all that and to have a kind of north star for the whole company.
I think you're so clear, Gaspard, in terms of what needs to be done. And I think a lot of us are falling into, this trap of, as you said earlier, getting so excited beyond anybody else's level of excitement over the thing that we're developing and ready to launch. And nobody's going to meet us naturally. Nobody's going to meet us at that same level. This is our great dream that we're trying to realize here, or our side hustle that we've been working on for years. And nobody's going to be as excited as we are. But once we can create that process, we can do these multiple launches, we can set some reasonable KPIs. It feels like we've got some control over this, and the thing will potentially work because we've been actively listening. I love that kind of that piecing together of, all the various kind of elements here. I think it's so important, isn't it, that we do this properly. Gaspard, I want to let people reach out to you. What is the best way of contacting you? Is it through LinkedIn?
The usual LinkedIn, indeed. Yeah, I post quite a lot, a few posts per week. I'm trying a podcast as well, but it's on a break right now. But yeah, LinkedIn is the best place.
Great stuff. So everybody will put the link to Gaspard's LinkedIn account in the description below. Gaspard, this has been such a great talk, and I think it's just really nice and refreshing for all of us who, and many of us do have these little vibe coding side hustles that we want to maybe bring to market if we're not actually sort of in a live business right now. Then this has been some great advice. So I really thank you very much for your time today.
Well, thank you for having me, and I look forward to see your vibe coding business. If you have one, happy to help you sell it. But yeah, thanks you a lot for having me. It was a pleasure.
Great, thank you.